Hello Internet, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pretty basic polymer clay and cabochon pendant. This is the perfect project for using flat-backed gemstones or beads that don't have holes in them, that are a little misshapen and not exactly calibrated to store-bought bezels. The only materials you're going to be needing today are polymer clay in your color of choice. Today I'm just using black Sculpey, some bacon bond, and I use that for putting on the back of the cabochon to adhere it to the polymer clay just for a little extra stability. And then either Pearlex pigments in your choice of color, or eyeshadow, or you could just leave the clay black. Also, these are a leather working tool called Seeders, I think, S-E-E-D-E-R-S. I get mine from tandyleather.com. They're about $6 per tool, but they're perfect for doing the repetitive and intricate detail work that I feel like really helps make the pendant look a lot more, just intricate and interesting. Also, I always save up my scrap wire, and so I've got some scrap wire off to the side, and I'll be showing you what we'll be doing with that today. This is 18 gauge aluminum, but you can use whatever metal type you have laying around, though I do recommend something thicker than 20 gauge, like a 20 or 18 or 16 gauge would be perfect for this. Something to cut your clay with, and some round nose pliers, if you have any of those laying around. Oh, also a cutter of your choice, or you can freehand it. So I've got my clay conditioned and rolled out here. I did it on the 3rd setting, excuse me, on my pasta machine. And then this is the stone I'm going to be using. It's an Indian turquoise. Has some really pretty little matrices and stuff in there. And so I'm going to pick a cutter that's just a little bit larger than the stone, because I don't want too much of a polymer clay frame around it. But this is a great opportunity for you to use your artistic discretion. If you really want a lot of intricate detail work to be going on around the edge of the stone, then by all means feel free to use a larger cutter. I'm going to cut out 2 ovals with my cookie cutter. Set aside the rest of that clay. Also, I have some parchment paper that's waxy on one side and just papery on the other that I'm going to be working on. That way I won't have to worry about my project getting stuck to my work surface. Now take a piece of scrap clay. This one's about 2.5 inches long. And you're going to make the loop that you'll eventually thread a bail through. And just wrap it around your pliers. And then twist. And then with the loose ends here, I just curl those in, making little spirals. I never really felt comfortable just putting like a straight piece of wire with a loop on the end into the clay, because it doesn't really give the clay anything to hold on to. Whereas this way, it's going to be hard pressed for this this loop to get pulled out of the pendant. And do your best to get the whenever you're placing it. I'm just going to move my camera. Try to place it nice and centered, or off center, whatever makes you happy. And then I'm going to take my other piece of clay and just layer it over the top. Smush it down a little bit. Now this is, I take my other piece of parchment paper and lay it on top, and I just rub with my fingers. And this kind of evenly rounds out the edges. Gets a really nice contact between the two pieces of clay. You want to be careful to not trap any air pockets, because those can rupture during baking and ruin your piece. And so when that's done, you can see how that kind of rounded out the edges. I use a long toothpick, but some folks use sculpting tools or paintbrushes or just whatever you have on hand to scoop out some of the bacon bond. I'm going to rub it on the back of the cabochon. And set that aside. Ah! Ew. What's on my clothes? And then you can kind of decide on the placement of where you want your bead to be. Yeah, I think I like it the first way. And then you just smush it. Smoosh. I'm gonna set that aside. The next step is we're going to make this twisted frame. So with more black clay, I've just rolled out a snake. I'm going to roll it out evenly so that I have two snakes of round about the same thickness and length. Length isn't as important as thickness is. You do want them to be as close to the same thickness as you can, because it'll help them twist more evenly. If one snake is thicker than the other, then you'll get a bit of an uneven twist going on. And while you can use that as a design element, I personally really like the way the even twists look. I think they look really just nice. For those of you who like measurements, I'm rolling the snake down to be about 2 or 3 millimeters in diameter. Much thinner than that, and I've had it, snap on me. Also, I have a new work surface. It's just a marble slab. It was a cutting board that I got for my 18th birthday, like a millennium ago. And I cut the feet off of it, and it makes a perfect, nice, solid, stable work surface for doing clay and leather working on. Okay, so here you'll be able to see, move the camera again. I just kind of pinch the two tails together, have one tail of the snake go over one side of my hand and the other go over the other, and then I just start twisting. I use my fingers and my thumb to kind of help guide and add tension, and I find my twisting is more successful when I stay close to where the twist is happening. If I twist from the far end, it doesn't twist as evenly, and it can actually over twist softer areas. So just keep on top of the working area and just gently twist down. Now also, with as long as these ended up being, oh no, it started to come in untwisted. This is probably going to be enough edging for 2, maybe even 3 pendants. So if you wanted, you could go through, instead of doing the dot edge that I'm going to show you how to do, and just repeat the twist edging. So yeah, you can see here it totally fudged up. So the way that you'd fix that is you just roll one way with one end and the other way with the other. And I kind of press it down in my fingers a little bit to keep the clay in place. And then you can do a little bit of focused twisting centered in on the problem areas. So I mean, it's art. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it, but... So there's that. It's not the most perfect twist I've ever made, but it'll do. So now, pull our piece back towards us. I'm going to use my blade to cut right along one of the seams. If you can see there, I'm just going to slice it kind of diagonally as opposed to just straight through, because that'll help to keep the continuous design whenever you join the ends together. And I'm just lightly pressing down as I edge the cabochon. And then here, I'm going to see if I can't zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to slice, boop, right under. Put our extra aside. And you can add, I'm going to tighten the twist down a little bit, that way it looks continuous. Because I've seen this same pattern used in like sterling silver pieces, and you can always tell, you know, the really good ones, because you can't tell where the join was. So again, not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Now we're going to take, I've cut off little strips of clay, and I have them stacked 4 deep. And I'm just going to slice through them to make some little squares. Set the extra aside. And I have a bunch of pre-rolled dots here because I'm not going to make you all watch me roll a bunch of dots. But I just take the little squares and then smush the edges in, the corners, and roll them down. You can be very meticulous about this and have all of them be the exact same size. I like having them be a variety of sizes because then you'll notice this, you know, there's a lot more surface area over on the edge of the setting here than there is on the other side. So I'd use a larger dot there as opposed to over here. And on some of the other pieces, I've done, you know, gradiated where I use larger ones and then go slightly smaller around the edges to emphasize that teardrop shape, and then have a large one centered up at the top. So again, another great opportunity to use your artistic discretion to do whatever you want. I'm going to zoom back out. No, I'm going to leave it zoomed in. And so I'm actually going to start right over here. Dots are getting away from me. And I put the dot down with my finger, and then I'm going to come in and use the simple cedar and I just press in. And then you're going to repeat this all the way around. I've had better luck placing the dots one at a time and smushing them as opposed to placing them all around the edge and then smushing, because all of them, you know, expand a little bit whenever you apply pressure, and so you'll end up kind of distorting the dots next to them or crowding some of them out. But again, just experiment. You might have better luck with a different method. I can actually pick up the dots with the tool and then smush them in. I like that because that way I'm not getting my fingers in the way or messing up the clay that we've already placed there with my fingernails. Smoosh. And you just continue all the way around. You can experiment with different stamps and textures. I've done some in the past where I used a like a ballpoint stylus to smush in. A really cool like steampunk option would be to use a small screwdriver to make them all look like little screw heads. That'd be fun. I think I might do that. But just going all the way around the edge. You could also do a Skinner blend and make the dots be gradiated in their color and then like go around and have it be like a rainbow. Oh, that'd be cool. So I mean, really your creativity is the only limit here. Like, I mean, you can do whatever you want. And the nice thing is, since it's clay, if you mess up, like that one, how it just split, I don't know if you can see. It's really cold in here today, so my clay is very hard. I don't think you can see that at all. Well, the edges of my dot split, so I'm just going to peel that off with my fingernail. Or try to. There it goes. So if you mess up, you can just smush it. It's not like, I mean, you do have to redo it, but you aren't losing any materials or anything. Which is nice. Oop. So yeah, this part's a little bit more time consuming, doing all the dots. And I think I'm gonna do the bronze Pearl-Ex on this one to kind of play off of the dark tones of the matrices in the stone. Smoosh. Last one. Ah. Okay. Some folks use makeup applicators or paintbrushes. I'm just going to use my finger. I'm just going to come in, get some of the Pearl-Ex on my finger. And I really like doing this because with paintbrushes, sometimes it'll get down into the crevices where you don't want it. I'm going to get a little bit of the Pearl-Ex onto the cap. Or I can pick it up from there. But yeah, this is really, it's almost like the opposite of oxidizing sterling silver jewelry, where you'd expose it to like the liver of sulfur and then polish off the oxidation. With this, we're starting out off solid black and then adding the highlights. Some of these I've left unglazed, but most of the time I use a product called PIM2. It's PYM and then the Roman numeral for 2. It stands for Preserve Your Memories, and it's an aerosol sealant that is safe for use with polymer clay. It doesn't melt it or make it bubble funny or discolor it. And it's like, I think I paid $14 for the can. It's like a regular spray paint sized can, but I've lost count of how many projects I've glazed with it. Like, I've sealed some different charcoal pictures with it. I've sealed some leather pieces with it. Some full-on sculptures. You know, it's just like, it's worth its weight in gold because it's so easy. It cuts down on the time. There's no brush strokes or clumps of, I'm terrible at glazing things. So it's really a nice, easy alternative. And here we go. It's so pretty. So yeah, it's ta-da. Now I'm going to sign the back. I've got another one of my leather working tools. It's just an awl. You can use a needle or anything sharp that you have. For Randy Bond 2015. And so I bake mine at 275 for about 30 minutes because that's just what I do. I like, since it's a pendant and somebody might wear it on a long necklace, you want it to be really solid and well cured, and I don't want any risks of like little nubblies getting knocked off. So over here, this one that I showed you earlier, I used a more intricate cedar for the edging. If you can see the detail in that. This one I used the silver Pearlex, and I did a double rope edge. I was concerned attaching the rope edge that I wasn't like smushing it in. I was afraid it would be fragile or fall off, but it held up pretty well. And then this one, actually, it was kind of an underwhelming stone that I got in a mixed pack. So I used this really pretty bluey coppery color shift eyeshadow on that one. And then I think this one's one of my favorite with the bronze edging. But yeah. So have fun, experiment, and if y'all feel inclined, please follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Tumblr, DeviantArt, there's all that social media stuff, and happy crafting!